Okay, guys, this is our last lecture for CEE305. Okay, so we'll talk about a couple of things. The important things, of course, is the final exam. Okay, so the final exam will be on Thursday. Okay, Thursday, May 13th, from 12 p.m. to 14, 2 p.m. Okay, so 12 to 14. May 13th on Thursday. So you have 2 hours to finish. On the website as we did for the midterm, the quiz and also the homework. Okay, but based on the university policy for the final exam, the time limit has to be set as 2 hours. Okay, so you'll have 2 hours to finish, and also you only have one attempt. Okay, so one attempt. Okay, so no multiple attempts as in the midterm. Okay, so that's the difference between the final exam and the midterm. Other things are the same. Okay, it's open book, and it will cover all the lectures we discussed. Okay, so from chapter 1 to chapter 7. Okay, chapter 1 to 7, and you can expect around 9 to 10 questions. Okay, so let's go over the topics we covered during this semester. Let me share the screen with you. Okay. So from chapter 1 to chapter 7, all the chapters will be covered in the final exam. Okay, so chapter 1 is about the basic idea. Okay, so how to do the sampling, what is population, what is sample mean, how to calculate the mean value, the median, quarters, and so on. Okay, so chapter 1 is the basic concepts. Chapter 2 is the big chapter. Okay, so very important. I will say you can expect at least 2, maybe 3 questions from chapter 2. Okay, focus on counting method. Okay, so how to count how many possible ways to do a certain experiment. Okay, remember we talked about permutation, combination. Okay, when to use which method. Okay, and also the concept of conditional probability and independence. Okay, and also random variables. Okay, so how to do the linear function of random variables. Okay, so that is chapter 2. Okay, again, 2 to 3 questions from this chapter. Chapter 3 is the propagation of errors. You should know what a different type of error, different parts of error, and how to do linear combination of errors. Okay, how to calculate uncertainty for functions of one or multiple measurements. Okay, so chapter 3 is pretty short, but you should know the basic idea of propagation of error. Okay. Chapter 4 is another major chapter. So in this chapter, we discuss 3 discrete variables, discrete distribution. They are Bernoulli, binomial, and the Poisson distribution. Okay, you can expect at least 1 question from the discrete variables, and also questions from normal distribution. This is by far the most important distribution we discussed. Okay, so normal distribution for sure. And then section 4.11, the central limit theorem. Okay, so it's another focus for this chapter. So for chapter 4, I will see at least 2 questions, maybe 3 from this chapter. Okay. And then chapter 5 and chapter 6. Okay, so they are pretty much similar. Chapter 5 is confidence interval for different situations, depending on how the question asked. For example, large sample, confidence interval for population mean, or small sample. Okay. intervals for difference between two means, or difference between two proportions, and pair data. Okay, so we have at least 7 or 8 different situations for confidence interval. So you should know the procedure to do that and zoom in which set of equation to use for this chapter. Okay, I run 2 questions for chapter 5. Okay. And then chapter 6. Okay, chapter 6 is hypothesis testing. Okay, you should know the procedure to set up H0 and H1. Okay, so basically, whatever the question is asked, can you conclude that? So after that, that will be H1, the alternative hypothesis, and the opposite will be H0. Okay, and also the equality line also includes H0, and then different set of equations depending on the sample size and depending on what the question is asked. Population mean, proportion, a difference between two means, a difference between two proportions, large samples, small samples, and you know that. So for large sample, you should use the table 8.2, and for small sample, use table 8.3, the T table. Okay, so we have done that so many times from the lectures, from the practice sessions, and from your homework. Okay. That is hypothesis testing, and then you should know what is power. This is in section 6.13, and that's about it for chapter 6. For this chapter, we'll see around 2 questions for chapter 6. Okay. And then the last chapter we discussed in this class will be chapter 7. You should know what is coefficient of correlation and what is simple linear regression. Okay, so very short chapter for chapter 7. The basic idea you should understand. Okay, so that is what we will cover in the final exam. Okay, chapter 1 to 7, and focus on chapter 2, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And I also upload a sample final exam. This is the exam from spring 2014. I also put the answer here. Okay, so we can just go over this quickly, and you can have an idea what the final exam will look like. So it will look like very similar to the midterm exam, just be longer. Okay. The first problem is about chapter 2, it's counting method. Okay, so how to find different ways to resolve certain problems. Okay, for example, the license plate has 3 letters, A, B, C, T, that's 26 letters, and followed by 3 digits. Okay, so you should know set up the license plate, you have how many steps, and for each steps, how many different ways you can do that. So that's the basic idea of counting method. Okay, so you can have a look at the answers. The second problem is about how to do the equation for the continuous variables. So we have fx, right? So how to calculate the mean, okay? So how to calculate the variance. So this is the, you can find the equation from chapter 2. Okay, how to calculate the cumulative distribution function. Okay, so different type of integration. Again, I attach the answer to you. Okay, you can have a look afterwards. Okay. This question number 3, this is also about conditional probability accounting method. Okay. Chapter 3. Okay, so you can have a look afterwards. And the next question is about binomial distribution. Okay, this is a problem from chapter 4. And you know, we only discuss basically 4 different type of distribution. Okay, we have a binomial, Bernoulli, and the Poisson distribution. And the fourth one will be the normal distribution. Okay. For binomial, in these questions, we have a NP. Okay, and then you can calculate the probability depending on what the question asks. Okay. The next question is also about you know, how to calculate the mean value and the standard deviation, how to do the counting method. Okay, so this is also a problem from chapter 2, the counting method. Okay, think carefully about how many options for each step. Okay, so you can have a look at the answers yourself afterwards. And then this question is about normal distribution. Okay, so for normal distribution, you know, it can ask you to calculate the parameters such as the mean value and the standard deviation. Okay, or can ask you to calculate the probability. Then you need to calculate the z-score, and then use table 8.2 to find out the probability. Okay. And you can also be asked to calculate the mean value. Yeah. Okay. So this is the normal distribution from chapter 4. And these questions is also belong to chapter 4. Okay. And it discussed section 4.11, which is the central limit theorem. That means under certain conditions, you can transfer some distribution, such as, in this case, binomial distribution, into a normal distribution, like this. Okay, and then you can calculate the probability depending on the question asking. Okay, and one small details about central limit theorem is you need to do a so-called continuity correction. Okay, because you transfer, if you transfer a binomial distribution into a normal distribution, you transfer discrete variables into continuous variables. So depending on whether the endpoint is included or not, you should plus or minus 0.5 here. Okay, so this is another details you should pay attention to. Okay. Okay, for this question, this is about you know, hypothesis testing. Some question set up the hypothesis H0 and H1 for you, and but in most case you should do that yourself. Okay, and then calculate the p-value and compare the p-value with alpha. Then you can draw the conclusion whether H1 is you can conclude H1 is right or not. Okay, from chapter 6. For this question, it's also about hypothesis testing. Okay, can you conclude that the mean rating is greater than a certain percentage? Okay, then depending on what the question is asking, this is for mean value, and the sample size is 5. So that's a small sample hypothesis test for population mean. Okay, and then you can zoom in the right equation to do the question. Okay, for small sample, you need to calculate the student's t value. Use table 8.3 to find out the p-value. Okay, the p-value is the range for students. Okay. And then when the p-value is larger than alpha, you can conclude. So you can, then the p-value is less than alpha, you can conclude H1 is right. If p-value is larger than alpha, then you cannot do that. Then H0 will be plausible. Okay, so that's the basic procedure to do a hypothesis test. Question number 8. Okay, this question is about confidence interval. Okay, you can look at the last sentence. Many cases, especially for the question from chapter 5 and 6, look at the last sentence if the question is very long, and then you know which chapter to look at. Okay, so in this question, asking for 98% confidence interval, then difference between two means. Okay, difference between two means. And then you can look at the sample size. So that's 120. So that's a large sample. So confidence interval for large sample, difference between two means. Okay, so remaining will be easy. All right. So yeah, please go after the class, go over the answers by yourself. Okay. And our final exam will be pretty much the same in difficulties and also in lengths. Okay. All right. Okay.
Professor?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Is the final exam on Connect, or is it gonna be like that on paper like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the final exam will be on Connect, same as what we did for the homework and the midterm and quiz. Okay, so it will be again on May. Let me see, on May 13th, Thursday, from 12 to 14 p.m. Okay, so 2 hours. Okay, but you only have one attempt for the final exam. So that's the major difference. Okay. So
thank you.
Will we need to show our work for it?
Could you say that again?
Do we need to turn in our work after when we submit?
That's good questions. I will say yes. Please do so. You know, you can just email me your your worksheets. Okay, send me your worksheets after you're done. Okay, so I can have a look. Yeah, so let's do that. Yeah.
If we're using Excel, can we send in our Excel sheet that we use?
Yeah, you can just email me that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so don't forget your calculator. Okay, of course. Let me see if we have any other questions from the chat.
What is the date and time of the final again?
Okay, the date, May 13th, time 12 to 14 p.m. We have 2 hours on the Connect website. Okay, is the question gonna be the same as the midterm and homework? Similar format and also difficulties. Totally around 9 to 10 questions. Okay, about 2 to 3 questions for chapter 2, 4, 5, and 6. And also don't forget chapter 1 and chapter 3. Okay. But focus will be on chapter 2, 4, 5, and 6. So we really need to have our cameras on. Yes, okay, so please have your cameras on. So that's another requirement for the final exam. Okay. Any other questions about final exam?
Yeah, I heard somebody say you wanted us to show our work. You want us to take pictures?
Yeah. So after you're done, you just you can scan or take pictures of the paper you work on. Just email me. Be fine. Yeah, it is open book, open notes, open book. I cannot do other way. Okay, so open notes.
So for if we email you the work, and will that give us partial credit if we get a question wrong?
Yes, if you get a question wrong, yeah, that's another way. If I can look at the procedure you did for certain questions, and then I could give you partial credit. Okay. Let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So any other questions before we?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay. So one last thing is the chair ask all the professor to do the course review. Okay. So that will help us better prepare for the class next time. So please do so. This is, I just sent you in the chat the link. So you need to use your username and password, but this totally anonymous. Okay. So yes, please do the course review after we finish. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for the great semester, and consider the the COVID-19 situations. I think we did a very good job. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions about the final exam. We can meet online, or you can call me or send me email. So otherwise, good luck, and we see you on May 13th, 12 p.m. online. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yes, only
Thank you,
one.
Professor.
Yes. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good day. Mahalo.
Mahalo.